guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, part 3, subframe, we're going to start breaking it all down, inspecting it in details of what we got to do, basically replace everything. So also I'm going to give you a little walk around the stand that I made in between the last two videos. Last couple of videos I made this stand up to make it a lot easier, more convenient, wheel it around, get it out the way, bring it outside if the weather's nice to work on it. And anyway, let me show you what I've done so far on this end and what I've discovered. Then I'll videotape the taking the control arms off of the other side. So let me get you in closer and I'll show you what I've discovered here. This is driver's side. I've taken all the control arms up. No real surprises really. Everything's just very tired and worn out. Don't forget, you know, budget for replacing stuff like this. These buffers, they've seen certainly better days. And they're pretty inexpensive, but obviously you've got to replace those. And then also there's some other buffers on the lower control arm. You'll see that in a bit. So yeah, pretty easy to take apart once the spring's off, obviously. And as I say, this stand makes it a lot easier. Just made it out of 1-inch square tube. I thought that was plenty strong enough, but not so heavy it becomes unwieldy, you know, the whole cart. I put these little retaining bolts in here, you see, because what I anticipate is making use of this tube here, essentially sliding in possibly a work surface or a tool tray, or also a jig to torque down the kingpins when I get to that stage. So this stand is kind of evolving. I've also got ideas of it being incorporated for the subframe and also the rear axle on the back side here, and I can extend this frame here with stabilizers and have it kind of a modular design, and probably about 65 bucks in metal. Obviously that's going to vary depending on where you are located. And then little time welding up. I had these casters kicking around, which was kind of nice. So yeah, it makes it a ton easier just to wheel it around. As far as mounting the whole thing on this stand, I lifted it myself with these two control arms on the other side. I did take the calipers and the rotors off obviously, and then it's much more manageable. If you had all that stuff, and you'd probably want another help or a crane setup or something like that. But anyway, you can see, let me see if I can show you the play. There you go, there's a good shot. So you can see the play in this trunnion here. It's probably just worn out threads, and I can feel it in the lower one as well. First things first, there's a little split pin hidden under all this dirt. You just get that out. Right. So we've got 27 this side, 22 this side. Okay, even with several attempts with the impact, that's still not coming out. So I'm going to apply some heat here, and that should take care of it. I'm not worried about any rubber seals or anything because these will be replaced. Let's see what that does. I got it. There's the threaded rod there. Actually doesn't look in too bad a shape. Threads are actually in pretty good shape, but this comes as a kit anyway, with this bolt and the lower trunnion, so I'll just replace it all anyway. So that's that. On the lower kingpin, this is where grease gets injected. See that little bit there? That's just right by the grease nipple to pump grease into this trunnion area. That's not that bad actually. So anyway, there you go, you can see it now. See that seal there? That's still there, but that one's the gone one. So I'm anticipating this have some possible wear here. I did lubricate the subframe a lot, so hopefully we got lucky and this wasn't driven in a lot of bad weather. Not so relatively, I should say. Anyway, so let's hope, because I did grease it quite a bit, that it pin survived. So these are the two buffers I was telling you about. Probably replace those. They're pretty, well, actually not in bad shape. I'll place those as a matter of course. Take the upper trunnion. There's a little retaining clip here with serrations in it to hold the adjustable camber nut bolt through here. So let me take that off and I'll show you how that works. You get these new with the kit anyway. It's kind of, see, there's a little clip with little serrations in it. There you go, little clip, and that engages with the serrations around this washer at the top here. Okay, we've got what, 14 nut this side, 17 on this side. See if you can see this cam rotate around, and it shows you, okay, it's just an offset bolt basically, and that's how you can adjust the camber. You know, we're doing this business, isn't it? I like to just punch that out so I don't damage the thread. Got a couple of seals and some washers. Either side. And then there's a sleeve that goes through there, and then obviously your top grease point here. You can see the bolt, the shaft is offset, so obviously when it turns it's changing the camber. Pretty simple little design. And around this collar is those serrations that when you make your adjustment and you put that little collar on, and then it locks it into place. Yeah. Now I'm going to use the ratchet. Oh, look how loose that one is. That was pretty loose. I use the ratchet, not the impact, so you can feel any restrictions, you know, because if there was a lot of corrosion in here, I can envisage you know, with an impact snapping something. Doesn't matter so much on these bolts, because these down here, because they're just bolts, aren't they? But these are into the frame itself. So this feels alright. Actually, this feels very loose. Take that guy off. There's a couple of washers there. This is one where we had a seal missing. Little boot there. So there it is, the subframe all stripped down, and I did say I wasn't going to paint it, but you know me, while it's off, you might as well give it a lick of paint. Really a few hours you can make it look nicer. I wasn't, but I thought, you know what, all this work, by the time you know, taking it all apart, you might as well, mightn't you, give it a paint, make it look nicer. We have to check the measurement between these two towers here. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it, but that's just a double checking to make sure this frame isn't twisted or anything like that. I very much doubt there's any problem with it. There is a set measurement in the manual, which I will check. Let's have a little look at the kingpins. Alright, so we've got the kingpin, or the knuckle, in the vise with a couple of pieces of wood here, so we don't mess everything up, and we've just got to clean this nut and make sure we see that. This is a locking tab, that one's not been engaged for some reason. knock that tab down. So, get the impact on that guy. Where are we at? 24, isn't it? I think it's 24. No, 22. Remounted it long ways in the bracket that holds the brake caliper, so that should hold it. So we're going to heat this up because this is a bear to get off, and I've made a drift here. I'm going to point the end a little bit, I'll show you in a sec. Got it. There you go. Needed to wrap it around the knuckle a little bit, but I don't want to grab that in my hands, do I? Hold on. I was losing a lot of force because it was moving in the vise, so I was trying to get this upper bracket here onto the vise. So I think what helped was wrapping it around the side here, and I used this brass drift. See, it distorted the brass drift, but pointed it a little bit, and a ton of heat. So now I'll stop the camera set and get this on the bench, and we'll look at the shim configuration in this knuckle. Let it all cool off and I'll tidy up. Hopefully that's cooled down a little bit here. So yeah, this is the locking plate. Looks like that with those two little tabs on it. Obviously your nut, 24mm, and you can see the tapered part of the shaft here, and you can see the principle of it essentially is that depending on what shims you have fitted, that allows this to go tighter and tighter on this shaft. Now, chatting to Duke the other day, Duke Honishell on the group, and not really as referred to torque so much. It's like you've got to kind of creep up on this and be checking the play on this, because if you can imagine, if you over tighten this, it's not a question of just loosening up again. You've over tightened it and you've gone too far, and if you do that, if you use the incorrect shim, when you go to steer the car, you're going to be going around and around in circles. This is not going to have free play, and obviously you don't want it with play this way, you know, loosey-goosey. So obviously there are bronze bushings that go in here and in here, and once they get pressed in, they're going to have to be reamed out to the correct clearance for the kingpin to go in, slide fit with you know, I've got to look up on the manual, but the correct play, so we get lubricant in there but not slopping around. So that's the machinist job. So we got that, and we got a shim, and I'm going to measure all these shims. Now that to me looks like I think that's it for there, isn't it? And then there's the trunnion here, you see. So that's a shim there, and that obviously gauges how tight and loose this can go up and down the taper. This collar in the new kit, you get a new one of these. And then on the other end, so there's the shaft here, and then we've got, okay, we've got a couple at the top here that have slots cut into them, you can see, for lubrication. So that was at the top, this way round, and then that's it. And then we got this is the adjustment cam pin for essentially setting the camber of the wheel. So this is all going to get taken out, and then this is a threaded piece that goes in, and there's a channel cut into it for lubrication again. Yeah, this looks to be a little worn, this. Let me measure the shim that came out the bottom here. 2.13 mil shim on the bottom. So from memory, I think that's probably a mid-range shim, I think. But anyway, so that is how to remove the kingpin. This is up the control arm. I'm going to take these grease points off, these Zerk fittings. So I can get the socket on there, 32 mil socket. This one I think had a seal missing. Yes, it's had a seal missing. So if there's any problem, it's probably going to be at this end. Let's give this a wipe off. Well, first look, it looks good. So, as I say, I did try and grease it as much as I can, even though I knew this one or two of the seals were missing. You can see that. That thread looks pretty good. I'll put a straight edge on it, but I think that looks pretty nice. On the other side, little rubbing there slightly, but get focus. So that looks pretty good, that one. So we've got let's just grease in there. We've got two good upper ones, so that's a bonus. Now I'm banking on this one being good because the seals are still present here, so fingers crossed. I don't know if you remember when I took the same pins off of the 6.3, these guys were in so tight. I tell you, they were unbelievably tight. So let's get that out of the way. Right, let's seal out. So right, yeah, there's quite a bit of grease on these still. This thread looks pretty good. And on the other side, yeah, I think we've lucked out. So we've got one bad pin. Let me get the other bad pin and I'll show you what that looked like. So this is the pin off of the other side where the seal had gone. Let me give it straight edge and I'll show you. See if I can show you on camera here. See, there's the thread here, right, and here, and look at that. That's a straight edge on there. Can you see? Whoops, look at that. You see that? See right through there. Threads have worn there. So essentially, get that on there. Now, it's supposed to have a little play for grease, obviously, but that's too much. Yeah, that's too much, and obviously we can see all the threads worn. So good reason to stay on top of this. Grease schedules for these, because these are very expensive, these pins. And I'd see if I can find a good used one. You can pick them up sometimes for $100 or so used, at good Mercedes ones, but yeah, that is completely trashed. So I found the easiest way to get all this grease out of here is just MAP gas. So we just heat that up. A minute. Fire alarm. Wildfire season.
This is the Nevada County Sheriff's Office issuing an evacuation order for zone code 030 due to a wildfire located near the town of Washington.
Yeah, luckily that's not close to us.
Select family members and pets. Seek shelter outside of the evacuated zones. For more, bit.ly/Savacna or call.
Anyway, luckily that's up the road here, about well, 10 miles away, so I don't think we've got to worry too much. Let's do the same with these, you see. Not a lot of grease left in those, actually. I'll just heat all these up and then it will go. We'll degrease everything. I can see it jetting straight out the end there, and then still a little gunk in that one. With the old control arms, a good old wash. And I know I said in another video I wasn't going to paint them, but while it's all off, you might as well throw some paint on it. I'll put some primer on it and give it a quick. So I probably won't go as crazy as the other one. You know, I took it all down to bare metal. I'm just going to give this a good key sand, an epoxy primer, and then some chassis paint. So I say, this is a car that I do use daily when it's running and my friend hasn't smashed it up. And just for interest, see, okay, so you got your shaft here, right? Now if you suspected this to be out of whack or anything like that, see that hole there at the back there, that's dead in line with this. And so what you do, you put it on some live centers, maybe in a lathe or something, and then you can rotate this and put a dial gauge on this shaft to check if it's out of whack. I don't think I need to do that because I think these are fine, but that's what that little divot is there, dead opposite that one. So you saw earlier, you know, I got the Kingpin out with this piece of brass here. I pointed it, but you can see it started to distort, and so this isn't stout enough really for that job, but it did work. But let me show you. I went down to, we got this tool store down here that's got a load of old second-hand tools, and the old stuff is really nice quality, you know. So I bought this. This is old cold chisel. I put a point on the end and I welded a thick plate on the end so you can give that a good whack. So I'm calling it Vlad the Impaler. So that should do the trick if I ever do this job again. I was just playing around one night. I thought, yeah, that'll do it. So anyway, let's get cleaning. Alright, so this is one of the control arm pins. See the thread in the background there? See, it's all twisted and gummed up. That's the one that didn't have its seal on, and so kind of suffered. So anyway, just check these as well. Right, so we've got one of the Kingpins. This is the underside here in the vise with some wood, and we've got to get the sleeve bushings out of there. So I'll just show you how I get that out of there, or the two, because there's one at both ends. One's longer than the other, and I think the long one is at the base here, but we'll have a look. So we've got a tap, an M20 tap, 1.5 thread on it. So we'll just give this a little lubricant, and we're just putting a little thread inside that bushing. Started. That should be, let me go a little further, get a good meter thread in there. Alright, we'll disconnect that guy, get that nice and tight. Then all I'm using is a 1/2 inch drive extension here. Put that guy down there. And we'll give it a few raps and that should be able to knock that bushing out. There we go, that's pretty easy. All ready for the machine shop, or I may press these in, save them a little time. See that, just put a thread in that guy. So this is The bottom one, which is the long one, this is from the other one I did, so the long one goes on the bottom. Doing this little job saves the machinist doing it, doesn't it? It's pretty easy, just got to get a nice size tap, like I say an M20 1.5. You can use any thread pitch you want, but it's an M20. All goes in there beautiful, just enough to bite into the walls of the bushing but not go, you know, tearing through it and wrecking the inside of the housing. Cuts real easy. That should do it. Again, I'm not using a giant mallet, just this hammer I got here. Give it a good few raps. All done. Now I'll rinse this all out before it goes to the machine shop. As I say, I may push the others in myself, and then he just has to hone out for the new pins. Well, I hope you enjoyed part 3 of this subframe rebuild video series. Hopefully this weekend, I've got a few hours on Saturday, I might be able to have time to put some paint on all the control arms and the main frame and everything. I've got to still clean the main yoke up before I do that. Just put some chassis paint on there or something, tidy it up. As I say, I do have all the Kingpins, top rebuild kit, bottom rebuild kit from the 109, so I'll probably end up just using those and just reorder a new bunch for the 109 when it comes closer to doing that one. So really appreciate you watching, guys. Hope you got something out of it, and I will see you in the next one. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and take care of yourselves. Bye bye.